got least common multiple and greatest common factor. And I know that my students get a little frazzled with trying to learn this because they feel like, I'm trying to get my camera straight, they feel like it's too confusing. So today I'm going to try and break things down for you so that it's no longer confusing, and I'm going to try and help you find ways to remember what's what, like little tips, hints, and tricks, all those kinds of things to help you keep it straight in your head, because this is going to make all of your fraction work seem a little bit easier. So the first one we're going to start with is LCM, and my fancy high-tech stuff here. I'm not doing a PowerPoint with cutesy little slides or anything, and I really recommend that you be as hands-on with your writing as possible. I know that some people like to type their notes, but I'm telling you, you handwrite your notes, they're going to stick a little longer and stay with you. Multiple. Sorry, I'm talking and writing at the same time. So least common multiple, the way we're going to learn this a little better is we're going to break down each piece. The first thing I want to break down is the number least. Now, we all know least, when we're looking at a list of numbers, it's the smallest number or the lowest value in the number, right? So, but we're going to say it like this. It's the smallest number that you can find in your list. Okay? Now this next one is, it's the same number in both lists. Okay? So I know you guys probably did some of this in 4th grade, maybe even 3rd grade. I think it just depends on your school and your curriculum. But you're learning all your facts and stuff, and then they have you list these facts and then find your least common multiple between a pair of numbers and your greatest common factor. And I think a lot of times it's just so heavy in your head trying to keep track of the facts and the lists and all the things. But I'm telling you, it leads up to something important. It's not just about making lists. It helps you with fractions in a major way. And if you can get LCM and GCF down, you're going to be thankful. So this next one is the word multiple. I want you to think of fact families, like multiplication facts. So think of fact families. And I also want you to think about like families, there's multiple people in a family. That's what we call a group of people that live together, a family. And then also think about your multiplication charts. If you've ever used one, it's stuff that you would see on a multiplication chart. All of the numbers, like 4 times 1, 4 times 2, the answers to all of those within the fact family, that is your common multiple stuff that we're looking for. So your multiplication chart, that idea is going to also help you. And now we're going to put it all together. We're looking for the smallest number between the two lists that are in common with each other. So you can make this list and find that they both have more than one number that are the same in both lists, but you want the least in value. So you want the smallest number that they both have in common. And then remember that multiple is about your fact family. So you're thinking 4 times 1 is 4. That's a multiple of 4. 4 times 2 is 8. That's a multiple of 8. And here you can even use a multiplication chart if you needed to help you with your fact families, because it's just listed right there. And I have one to show you. So these are all like here. You can use your 2 fact family and 2, 4, 6, 8, all of these numbers right along here. All these numbers right here, or right above the paper. Those are all numbers in the 2's fact family. Or here's the 9's fact family. 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54. So if you'll look, 9 times 6 is 54. That's one of the facts in the 9's fact family. So that would be one of the numbers we would use in least common multiple if one of our number lists was a 9 number list. And we're going to pull all of it together. But before we do that, I want to talk about why we use this. We use LCM to help us find our equivalent fractions. Equivalent fractions allow us to do the math, because if you're working with denominators that are not the same, you cannot do the math when you're adding and subtracting fractions. So I tell my kids that the denominators are like fruit, apples and oranges. You either have to have all apples or all oranges. And if you have an apple and an orange, then you're going to have to convert them to orples. And orples is a combo of the two, which is kind of what we do when we look for a least common multiple. So equivalent fractions, or as I tell my kids, we're looking for orples. And it's good to know both terms. I really want the kids to learn the math term here, but I think also they hang on to fun words. So I picked the word orpal because it's a combo of an apple and an orange. And that's what we're looking for so that we can do the addition and the subtraction with our fractions. And again, you can always pull in a multiplication chart if you're really struggling with those fact families. But it's another good reason why you have to have those multiplication facts down. Because if you don't, they're going to kick you in the patoot when you have to really use them. So let's talk about how to make these lists. So we're going to do the LCM of, I'm going to do LCM right here, and I'm going to pick a different color so that we can kind of pay attention to what's going on. I'm going to pick like a blue and maybe a green so that we can kind of keep track of what's what. And my markers love to roll, and that drives me insane. Okay, so right here we have this number. We're going to do a 6, the LCM of 6, and the other list will be 8. Now there's a specific way that I make my kids do their list, and that is we try to line things up so that we don't have to remember, wait, this was 6 times what? So we make sure our 6 times 1 lines up with our 8 times 1. So we have 6, and then I put this little colon here, and I start with 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is, 6 times 3 is 18. 6 times 4 is 24. 6 times 5 is 30. And right now it's good practice just to go out 10 numbers because we need to know those anyway. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 9 is 54. And 6 times 10 is 60. Now, we want to line these up as we go. Okay, so we're going to say 8 times 1 is 8. See how the 1 and the 1, 6 times 1 is lined up with 8 times 1. 8 times 1. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 times 3 is 24. 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 9, wait, 8 times 6 is 48. 8 times 7 is 56. My word, Mrs. Laval. 8 times 8 is 64. 8 times 9 is 72. And then 8 times 10 is 80. So if we look at this list, we've got some matching numbers. The numbers that we want to find are the least common multiple, right? So if we go back to this, we're looking for the smallest number I can find between both lists. The number has to be the same in both lists, and we're doing it with the fact families right now of 6 and 8 so that we can find equivalent fractions. So let's find the matching number. I think that's the best way to start. we're going to find matching numbers. So right now I see a 24. Okay. And is that it? Nope, I see a 48. Anything else? 32, 24, 40. No, I think we're good. You kind of just have to go down the list and look for them. So of the two numbers, so we have matching numbers in both lists, and we have two sets of matching numbers. We have 48 and 24. But we're looking for the least common multiple. So we want the smallest number that is in both lists, and that would be 24. So the LCM of 6 and 8 is a big old 24. Okay, so that's how we did that one. We're going to do a couple more of LCM. So our next one is, looks like it's going to be 10 and 25. Now what's nice about these, oh man, I'm messing all that up, aren't I? I'm supposed to do that in green. 10 and 25. I am so sorry, you guys. Look, when you're doing markers and pencils and you're doing all of this as you go, like there's no rehearsal. We're just doing it. But you're going to get all the mistakes along the way. So 10 and 25. That's a little better focused. Let's do our 25 first. 1 times 25. Now we've got a ways to go. 1 times 25 is 25. And then 2 times 25 is 50. 3 times 25 is 75. 4 times 75 or 25 is 100. And if you look, it's like money. 25, 50, 75, $1. So then we're going to follow that pattern to 250, right? Because 10 times 25 is 250. So 125, 150, 175, and then 200, and then 225. We're following the pattern again, and then 250. So those are multiples in the 25's fact family. Now let's do 10. 10s, we like 10s, don't we? 10 times 1 is 10, and then we're just going to count by 10s. 20, but we still want to line it up. 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And now we're going to look for least common multiples. And again, we're looking for the smallest number we can find that are in both lists. They have to have that number in both lists. So the first one I'm seeing right now is 50 and 50. And then the next one would be 100 and 100. But again, we want the smallest number. So our number that we have in common between these two lists, I'm going to just cover over this blue, is 50. Because between 50 and 100, 50 is the smallest, right? So 50 it is. That's our LCM. Let's do 9 and 12. And again, we're just practicing 9 and 12. So here's our 9. And let's just go ahead and do 9 first. So 9 is, 9 times 1 is 9. 9 times 2 is 18. 9 times 3 is 27. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 7, I'm used to just counting them out. That's why it's messing me up. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 7 is 63. 9 times 8 is 72. 9 times 9 is 81. And 9 times 10 is 90. Then we switch over and we're going to do 12. And we got to go all the way up to 10. So 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. And you want to leave yourself some room. See how I kind of stretched that out? 12 times 3 is 36. 12 times 4 is 48. I'm not as good with my 12s because I don't use them very often. 12 times 5 is 60. 12 times 6 is 72. 12 times 7 is, I want to say, 84. And 12 times 9 is 108. And 12 times 10. Oh, did I get off? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 6, 7. Oh, 8. 12 times 8 is 96. 12 times 9 is 108. And 12 times 10 is 120. See, it doesn't take much to get out of whack. And again, if I would have gotten stuck, I could have just pulled my multiplication chart. I could have pulled it up here. I could have gone to my 12, and it would have been 12, 24, 36, and this one goes all the way up to 20, which is nice. Okay, so now we're going to take our other color here, and we're going to look for our LCM. We're going to look for our least common multiple. So first things first, let's find numbers that match. Right now I see a 36 in here, and oh, I see a 72. And this one was almost, 96 and 90, but we don't have it. So we have 2 here, and of the 2, 36 and 72, 36 is the smallest. So our LCM is 36. Now, we've done all these lists of numbers, but I also want to show you a helpful hint. And one of those hints is, what if our numbers were side by side on the number line? If they're side by side on the number line, in other words, like 1 and 2, or 3 and 4, or in this case, we're going to do a 5 and a 6, you could just multiply them because they are right next to each other. Your least common multiple is going to be the same as when you multiply them, but we're going to work it out just in case. If we multiply this 5 times 6, we're going to get 30, right? I'm going to write it here, and I'm going to be really confident. I'm going to put it in big, bold purple marker. But now we're going to see if that really works. So 5 times 1 is 5, and again, we're just going to count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, and we're going to go up to 50 because 5 times 10 is 50, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, right? And then this one is 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 2 is 12. And then we've got 18. I'm just going to do it real quick. 24. And then 30. And then 36. 42. 48. And 54. And then 60. So if you look, the numbers that they have in common are actually this right here. And that's the number we had right there. If that makes sense. So that's how you do LCM. LCM is least common multiple. You think of your fact families, and you make sure that it's the smallest number that both lists contain. There's a lot of numbers in there that are smaller than 36 or 50 or 24. There's a bunch of numbers, but they have to, this number has to be in both lists for it to count, and it has to be the lowest one. So even though there were 2 sets of multiples that were common here and here and here, and this one only had 1, but it has to be the lowest one, the one that has least value. Later, we will show you how all of this applies to fractions. That's coming up. But I wanted to get this video done so that you can practice this and really understand this and get your head wrapped around least common multiple and not